Good afternoon. It is August 8th, 2022, and here's what we're looking at for today. This is a range day. Uh, Prices trended up in the overnight. We had a break of that channel, couple legs up to a new high, and they reversed and tested these lows and bounced a little bit. We'll see what happens, but here's the daily chart, and you can see there's still an upward bias to this. We might be in the middle of a channel. We could be bouncing off the lows of the channel too, but definitely an upward bias here. But you can see like a bearish doji today. So let's take a look at these trades. Not a whole lot today. You can see I got blue, one red. So 2 blues and 2 reds, and the rest are greens, and yeah, just not a lot of great setups from how I was seeing it anyway. So in the overnight, we had this leg up, overshoot that led to a break. I do believe that this larger channel is valid as well. So let's see, when does 5 o'clock? I think, yeah, 5 o'clock comes somewhere around here. So these are too far from the EMA. I think technically this was a failure, but it's too far from the EMA, and it's not even off the trend line, so you don't want to take that. Here we have a leg of correction, and you get a second entry short, and it looks like a failed break higher, and this would have gotten you a scalp, but with that signal bar, I don't think you want to take it. This set up well on the MES, and I took it, and it worked out, but here it doesn't set up as well. And you actually get like a double test right here. If there's room back to the EMA, you might want to take that for 63.50. You might take that for a scalp, a 1-point scalp, because that's a double test. Bias has been up all night. Here we make a leg up, try to go higher here, try to go higher a second time, it fails. That's the second entry short right at these highs. So you might consider that one too, but with the bias being up, I'm not too crazy about that. Come down here and you get a second entry long right here, but no, the signal bar is no good, and you're going long into that level of resistance anyway, so not the greatest setup. You do get a first failed second entry. I just don't really like when these failures aren't off of a trend line. So I would wait on the second entry, and maybe you enter on that and put your stop below here. I don't know. And I marked this blue, but this should be green. Unfortunately, you just don't get a setup in here. And then we're just going sideways, and that leads to a break. And you do get a second entry short right here. I like the way that sets up. I think we're overdue as well, because I saw this break, and you got 1, 2 legs and some sideways action up to a new high. So I think it's a good time to go short. And if you drew the trend channel off these lows and drag it up to the highs, this fits. So you could have had that, is my point. Then we get another test of the trend channel and a lower high right here. All this is a lower high, so it's not the greatest setup. And look at all that congestion, and you're going into the lows, so very aggressive, but something you might consider. Here we get a first failed second entry short. I can't really mark that, but with the bias being up, you might consider it. But we're below the EMA for the most part, so I'm not crazy about that one. And just sideways action. Now that I'm looking at it right here, you can see we're testing this level of support. You can see a test here. You could argue this is a test here. So you get a double test right here, and then a triple test right here. So if you see all that, maybe you think about it, but I don't like this because there's only a couple ticks back to the EMA. Come up here, first entry, second entry. You don't really know what prices are doing here, so this is aggressive, but it kind of looks like this is a level of resistance. You can see that, but we broke higher right here, so you don't really know what's happening. Get a lower high right here, but you're going into that support. No second entry right here, unfortunately. Nothing in here. Just a lot of movement today without setups. Here, this is a very strong move down. But with a higher low, with that much room back to the EMA, I think there's like 3 points of room back to the EMA. That's it. For me, these are aggressive trades that I like. So if it fits your style, you might consider that. Come down here. Nothing in here. I think this is a failure, but it's too far from the EMA. And then we form this pink range. Bias is down at this point. So when we get what looks like a second entry short, it's just a hidden second entry. I like this. I hope I don't take something like this with real money because I don't think I'm advanced enough to do that, but I do like this as a hidden second entry short. Only problem is that this channel right here looks valid. You can see that midline bounce right there. So this does look like it's in no man's land, and I do think that channel turns out to be valid. We come up short here, and that leads to a break. Here we have a failed second entry short, and it's off of this short-term trend channel, but you're going long into this support, resistance, and you have resistance of this swing high. So I think that's too aggressive. Get a second entry down here, but it doesn't set up. Second entry long. High or low, I don't. Maybe you would consider that, but you're going into the swing highs. Come down here, you get a first entry, failed second entry, but you're right at the midline. This looks like a range. Maybe you wouldn't have it drawn that way, but here you have short-term congestion. Looks like 4 inside bars, so I wouldn't be too crazy about that. Then we come up here and you get a first entry, second entry. So you might consider that. I was looking at this when it ticks one tick higher and ends up bearish, and there's that much room for it back to the EMA. I like this, but you might be looking at it like that, and that makes it a little more aggressive. And we didn't quite test these range highs, so you're just not sure what's happening. And that forms like a spike in channel down, but it's a pretty weak channel down, and you don't really know that it's a channel down until you're pretty far into the trend. So here we get a second entry that's also a failed second entry long. So this is a good trade, and it's also a breakout pullback, as you can see. So that's a good trade. We break below the overnight lows, find some rejection, and here you get a second entry long, but it looks like you're in a leg of correction, so it's just not the greatest setup. Come down here, find some support, get a bounce. You get a second entry short right here, and that looks like a level of resistance, so there's reason to like that, but we just made a higher low down here, and we made a higher high up here. This, so there's reason to believe we're going higher. So when we get the second entry long right here, confirming this channel, very bullish signal bar. We just made this higher low. We just made this higher high. I think you have to take that. And that brings us into 12:30. Market's closing in 15 minutes. And that's what I saw for today. So here's one last look at it. I hope everyone had a good day. I'll be back tomorrow.